Hello friends, thank you for stopping by. My name is Olajumoke and you're welcome to my channel. Now today I want to ask you, who exactly are albinos or who are PWAs? You can either call them albinos or PWAs, people living with albinism. What do you know about them? I mean, what kind of information do you have about them? For me, I've always wondered what was responsible for their skin tone, and I found out that it was the absence of melanin. I've also wondered why the sun isn't their best friend at all. It's not like it's good for others, but then they run away from the sun. I've also wondered what was responsible for the shaky eyes, and I found out that it was because of something called nystagmus. And the beauty of this is that they do not feel it. I mean, I was told they do not feel that it is shaking. I mean, how awesome is God? God is indeed a perfect designer. So much to know, there's so much to learn. You know what? Enough of what I think or no. Let's head on to hear what others have to say. So what do you think about albinos?
I'm saying that they have not seen the sea when they enter sun.
When they enter sun?
Yes.
So they can't see if they enter sun?
Yes.
What again do you think about them?
Because their eyes always be shaking like this, shaking.
Okay. What again do you think about them?
I'm thinking that they cannot eat salt also.
You can't eat salt?
Yes.
What else? Any other thing?
No.
Nothing else? Yes. All right. Thank you very much.
I think they are just normal human beings like us. There's nothing different because they talk like us. They laugh. They do what under ordinary human beings did. They are doing the same thing.
There's nothing else you think about them?
Nothing else. Nothing else.
So they're just like you?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. So if you happen to see a doctor,
yeah.
Is there anything you want to ask the doctor about them?
I would like to ask one thing.
Okay.
The sun.
Okay.
Does this affect them?
Okay.
As it affects black normal.
Okay.
That's
okay.
something I would like to ask.
Okay. Have you ever spoken to any of them before? Any PWA?
No, I have a friend too.
Oh, fantastic.
I have a friend,
okay.
Right from primary school, I have a friend.
Is it still your friend?
No, I left.
Okay.
Separated.
Okay.
Yeah. Together, so we ate together, do everything. Also, I took them as normal, ordinary human.
That's very good. That's very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, kile mo npa won kile.
No neighbor mi ni ko. Ojú rẹ̀ máa ń bà wá lẹ́rù.
Ojú báwo ló ṣe máa ń bà yín lẹ́rù?
Ojú ẹ̀ ó white. Ó sharp white ni. Dúdú yẹn ó máa ń blink gan. Ó máa ń bà wá lẹ́rù.
But since ó ń gbé ládùúgbò yìí, ṣé ti bí léèrè kankan àbí?
Wọ́n á bèèrè lọ́wọ́ màmá ẹ̀ ní ìran Árábù ló ti wá.
So kí lẹ tún rò tẹ́ bá rí ẹni náà, kí lẹ máa ń rò lọ́kàn yín? Kí làwọn nǹkan tẹ́ ti gbọ́ ń pa wọn? Kí ni gbogbo nǹkan tẹ́ ti gbọ́ ń pa wọn? Ẹ gbọ́ kankan ń pa wọn rí? Ojú yẹn nìkan ló máa ń bà yín lẹ́rù. All right. Ẹ ṣé gan ni. Ẹ ṣé, yes. What is true?
That if you eat salt, I think the color will become more darker and it will become more rough. So some of them, they don't eat salt. They don't eat salt, albinos, they don't eat salt.
Okay.
And sometimes, they cannot even look at the sun very well.
Okay.
But what can we do? We are still the same.
Yeah,
so
okay.
we thank God that it's God created them, like how other colors are. So we cannot throw them away, we have to take them as abroad. Another thing I think about them is like maybe some people think they are less in a privilege or whatever, that maybe if they go to look for jobs, some people don't want to accept them.
Do you believe that?
Actually, myself, I don't believe it, but some people believe it.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay. What do you know about them?
So that you don't think when I see them, but if I see them, their eye they one kind of they get black for their body.
Now only the ones you don't see be that.
Only that one when they see.
So you never see the one where the body clear?
No, I never see her.
So waiting again you can't know. Be waiting. You know anyone will be your friend or be something?
No, I don't know anyone. They say one woman they pass it, but don't stay.
Okay.
I always see
So
that
that's
one.
all you know about them.
That was the only one I know.
So if you see
they
them,
shake her head like this.
that's all you know about them. You don't see them for TV before.
I dey see them for TV.
You don't see them for TV, but you don't follow any. You don't follow any of them talk before.
No.
You don't fear them. I'm waiting.
No, no, be say I dey fear them.
But you know
We are not
just.
too close. We don't get them for our family.
You don't know. You don't get neighbor or anything. Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, welcome back. I'm sure you've heard a lot of things you've never even thought of. Some you're thinking it, and some you're like, oh, that exists. But I have something to ask you. How is it that the intake of salt affects the complexion of your skin? That's something we need to think about, because I mean, salt is good for everyone except, well, a person is hypertensive. But you know what, let's just hear what professionals have to say. Let's hear what people who are knowledgeable about this topic, authorities in this topic. Sit down, relax, and sip on a bottle of water.
Hello, my name is Chimezie Udechukwu, and I am the Director of Communications and Strategy at the Onome Akinlolu Majaro Foundation, that is the OamFoundation. Well, albinism is a genetic condition that affects people, and it's not restricted to Nigerians or Africans alone. It is a global phenomenon. It is such that it prevents melanin, the pigment causing factor in the body from developing. So basically, a person with albinism, that is PWA, is one who lacks melanin, and has no pigmentation. So for some, it occurs in the eyes only. For others, it's in the hair, the eyes, and what have you. Two types, basically, the oculus and the oculocutus types of albinism. Albinism is not a death sentence, yes, and so persons with albinism are first human beings. The only difference between a pigmented person and the person with albinism is the lack of pigmentation in the from the person with albinism. Now, there are lots of myths surrounding persons living with albinism. The fact that they are disabled, they are invalids, they are very vulnerable, they are weaklings, they shouldn't be under the sun, they shouldn't eat salt, their body parts, when mixed with some other portions, can fetch good luck charms, particularly for those in Eastern Africa, Tanzania, Malawi, and some other countries around that region. Yes, in Nigeria, the prevalence rate of albinism is high. There are about 6 million persons living with albinism in Nigeria, and persons living with albinism in Nigeria also suffer discrimination. You understand? They suffer discrimination from society. They are called different names: Obobo, Afiojeyo, Nasara, Bature, Apunao. They say we shouldn't go out in the sun. Yes, rightly so, because of the ultraviolet rays, from the sun, which can cause skin cancer. But of course, with proper covering of the body, sunshades, hats, and the proper covering of the body, a PWA can actually go out and do what they have to do and then come back. There's a lot of myths, like I mentioned earlier. For some, persons with albinism shouldn't eat salt. Salt is an integral part of it provides iodine, and a child without iodine grows up to become deformed. So yes, it's imperative that persons with albinism eat salt, but salt that is cooked. So persons with albinism are also human beings. Humanity first is what matters, and there should be less discrimination. If there shouldn't be any discrimination, rather, of persons with albinism. We're human beings. We do not smell. Our body parts do not efficacious for charms. They do not cure HIV. They do not make you rich. And yes, we marry, we give birth to normal children, pigmented persons, PWAs, and we are not disabled. So this is the message from us. We are, like I said, you can join us online on Facebook at OamFoundation, same as YouTube. You can check us online at www.oamfoundation.org, Instagram on OAM_foundation, and then send us an email at info@oamfoundation.org. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Dr. Uzonwa. I want to give us a quick pep talk on albinism. Albinism is an autosomal recessive disorder. Autosomal because a gene is located on one of the numbered chromosome, or one of those we call non-sex chromosomes, and then recessive because two copies of that mutation needed for the disease to occur. It's said to affect 1 in 17,000 people. It's an inherited disorder in which problem with melanin production and metabolism. Melanin is that naturally occurring pigment that is responsible for the color of the hair in the skin and in the eyes. In albinos, they do not produce that. There's a defect in that enzyme. There's an enzyme that is needed for thyroxine, which is an amino acid building blocks of protein that is used in the production of melanin, and that thyroxinase is not produced in them. It takes two to tango. For an albino child to be born, both parents have to be what you call carriers of those mutated genes. So it's not possible for only one person or the mother to be the carrier. What actually happens is that if two people with such mutated genes meet, they're going to produce an offspring, and the chances of that is about 25% in every pregnancy. The stakes are higher if an albino marries somebody that is carrying the genes. In that case, the probability of having an albino child in each pregnancy increases to about 50%. They are normal. Albinos are normal. They are no different from you and I. Even when they have light skin, their eyes, and all the ocular manifestations that albinos have, they still live normal life. What is needed is for it to be detected, and then they can get the help that they need. For some children have the traits that it's not so obvious from their skin. They have normal skin color, and so they may not do well in school, and you would not realize that it's the eye, the ocular manifestation of albinism that is causing them not to do well in school. So when that is taken care of, their eyes are checked, they tend to do what happens well. Is an albino can live normal life. An albino is normal. They're not different from you and I. There is no need for stigmatization. There is no need for people to discriminate against them. An albino is not different. Is not a freak of nature. They only miss an important enzyme that you and I have, and it has nothing to do with them. It is not their fault that they are not able to produce that, because it's a gene that had nothing to do, and nothing of their making. Also, it's possible for some tests to be done to know if one is a carrier of the mutated gene, so that one can be guided if need be. There is a story of a couple in this part of the world. People discriminate even against women who give birth to albino children. If a friend of mine, her sister had an albino baby, the mother-in-law and the husband, they ganged up against her and said the baby is not from their family because they hadn't seen any traits. But they forgot that it takes two carriers of the mutated genes to give birth to an albino child. So there is really no need for us to discriminate against them. All we need to do is give them our support. Albinism manifests in, I said the melanin is responsible for the coloring of the eye, of the hair, and the skin. So for them, if that covering, that melanin protects against the ultraviolet rays of the sun, so they need to use sunscreen. They have several ocular manifestations, so they need to get their eyes checked and the proper help, lenses and glasses prescribed that they can use. The reason why they have ocular manifestations is because the eye, the retina, melanin that they are not able to produce too is needed in the production of retina, and the retina is the tissue that lines the back of the eyes that absorbs the light when we see, that takes the light to the brain so that the brain can interpret the pictures that we see. So it's very important that we have this at the back of our minds, that it takes two to tango. Two carriers of mutated genes must come together to produce an albino child, and they are normal. They can live normal lives. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Bimpe Adibaju. I'm a consultant ophthalmologist. I'm going to talk to you about albinism. Albinism is a condition due to the absence of melanin, which is the deficiency of the pigment cells. Now, albinism can be ocular or oculocutaneous, which they have said. So talking about the ocular, which is about the eyes, there is absence of pigments, and because of that, there are certain conditions that affect the eyes. The eyes become shaky, that's called nystagmus. The eyes have poor vision because there's foveal and macular hypoplasia, which means part of the eye that is very sensitive to vision, for vision, is affected, and it is hypoplastic, so it's not well formed. And because of that, the albinos have poor vision. It varies. The amount of pigment varies from person to person. Some people still have some pigment, many have no pigment. And because of that, their visual acuity varies. The amount of nystagmus, which is the oscillation due to lack of fixation, because the eyes cannot see very well, so it's not fixating. That is also due to the albinism. And that also varies. So the common features that you see: emmetropia, poor vision; nystagmus, reduced visual acuity; pale skin, pale eyes, pale hair.
Hello, my name is Dr. Kwara. I would like to take a few minutes to talk to you about albinism. Albinism is a skin condition in which there is a lack of pigmentation or color. So rather than having normal color like we wear that skin, the person appears to be light or pale skin without color. Albinism affects not just the skin but also the eyes. Albinism is basically a genetic and problem, and it is due to a defect in the enzymes and the proteins that lead to the production of melanin pigment. Melanin is the normal pigment in the skin of every human being. It is produced by the cell known as the melanocytes, and the process of melanin production is called melanogenesis. So there are different stages in that melanogenesis, and any interruption, any of those stages could lead to albinism. You should also know that melanin is found in the skin, in the eye, in the hair bulb, and also at nerve endings. So this kind of accounts for some of the clinical features that you see in people who have albinism. Generally speaking, there are two broad types of albinism, and they are called oculocutaneous albinism and ocular albinism. Tyrosine, as I said, is the major enzyme involved. These traits can be transmitted as autosomal, recessive, or dominant. Different subtypes of albinism exist, but for practical purposes, most of the time when you see somebody that has albinism, their skin is much lighter than that of the population that they are living in. So let's say they are here with us here in Nigeria, the person will appear as if he has a white skin, and the loss of pigmentation is all over. So it's not just their skin but their hair. However, the degree of loss of color depends on the type of defect, which also leads to the type of albinism they have. So you can have people who have albinism and it's only the color of their iris that is lost. So they might either have pale yellow or even blue eyes rather than dark colored eyes like iris like we have, who might have just the skin showing as a lighter color, maybe very light brown or yellow, or the skin itself. So there are different ways in which they present. The main significance of melanin is that it protects us from the harmful effects of the ultraviolet wavelength in normal light that we see. So when we have dark skin, which is caused by the melanin, we are protected from having various things like the simplest things are like sunburns and solar dermatitis, then to abnormal growths like what we call actinic keratosis, which you see a lot on the skin of people with albinism as brownish growths that are thick and crusted. Then the extreme end is that you cannot have skin cancers. Apart from the skin cancers, the people who have albinism also tend to suffer from visual effects because of the relation of albinism to the visual system, or the visual part of the nervous system. So they are prone to having things like nystagmus, which are involuntary movements of the eyeballs. They can have strabismus. They can have squints, and they can also have a problem with visual acuity, that they find it difficult to focus, so they probably need glasses just like I am wearing. Apart from that, people with albinism do not have any other major difference between you and I. They don't suffer from problem of mental growth. They do well in school. They have normal emotions. They relate well with everybody else. They don't have any problem with reproduction. So you have several people with albinism who have married and have gone on to have children. And the advice I would give people who have albinism is that they should protect their skin. And they can do this avoiding prolonged exposure to sunlight. And you can achieve that protection by wearing wide brim hats when they're outside, or using umbrellas. And you should also apply sunscreen on the exposed parts of their face and their arms. And of course, they should avoid unnecessary standing in the sunlight for prolonged periods. And when they do get any of these growths on their skin, they should actually try to see the nearest doctor, who will refer them to a dermatologist, and they can treat them. They should take basic skin care, like using normal moisturizers and soaps. They don't really need anything special apart from applying sunscreen. Sunscreen can be gotten at most of your local shops. Make sure you use a sunscreen that has a sun protective factor greater than 50%. You should not stigmatize people who live with albinism. There's no difference between them and us apart from the skin of color. In other countries where people are very fair, you wouldn't notice those with albinism. Let us show them empathy, and let's not discriminate against them. Thank you.
You're welcome back, guys. I'm sure you've learned a thing or two. Some notions have been corrected, gotten some new information, and all of this good stuff. Please ensure to subscribe, like, comment, and share. But I want you to write in the comment section what you have learned, the new information you've acquired today. We learn every day. So I will really like to know what you've learned, the notions that have been corrected, the superstitions here and there. I would like to know in the comment section below. Also, I want to use this opportunity to thank each and every one of you who were a huge part of this project. In fact, it was some serious project, but we thank God it was successful. Thank you so much. The Lord bless you and the Lord keep you. Please stay tuned for my next video. Bye-bye.